From the city of brotherly love, this is Shark Bite Biz with David Strausser.
He did it again. You just arrived to the newest episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your rock star wannabe host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during complete global chaos. As always, this episode is sponsored by our amazing sponsor and SAP and Acumatica Gold partner, Stellar One Consultant. If your business is still running on QuickBooks, some antiquated solution, Access, Excel, something crazy like that, Maz 90 even, reach out to me, David at sharkbitebiz.com, or go to stellar1consulting.com and stellar1.io, and we will hook you up. Now, let's get back to today's episode. What's it about? Education, and it's specifically on education in the tech space, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So who do we have today? None other than Professor Markley. Robert A. Markley Jr. has held the distinguished position of La Trobe Specialty Field Sponsored Instructor in Business Administration at St. Vincent College for nearly 2 decades. With a wealth of knowledge, he has not only imparted knowledge onto his students, but has also demonstrated his entrepreneurial prowess by successfully launching and exiting 3 successful technology businesses. Beyond his professional achievements, he has found fulfillment in his personal life, being a devoted husband to his wife, Christina, and a proud father of 2 grown daughters. He has particularly enjoyed training almost 200 students over the past 15 years in SAP Business One and helping them launch their careers, including people that work with me like my pre-sales agent, Derek Hill. So hey, without further delay, let's bring the professor right on in here.
Business strategy.
Professor Markley, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. You, my friend, you just became Shark Bait.
Thank you, David. Very, very nice I'm very honored to be part of the show, and I'm excited to have our conversation.
Well, I'm excited because we don't have that many professors that come on from a college that specializes in what I do for a living with ERP. So having you on here, it's a great honor. So thank you so much for carving out the time. I know you're a very busy individual, and coming on here means the most to me. So let's kick it off. We have a tradition on the show. Very first question I ask every single guest, okay? It doesn't matter how famous or infamous or non-famous they are. We ask the same question to every single person, okay? What's your background? What's your experience? What do you do for a living? How'd you get there? Basically, in a nutshell, tell me what makes Professor Markley, Professor Markley.
Well, I'm not a traditional professor, so I sort of have an interesting background. When I was an undergrad, I started as a business major, but really loved technology. So back in the early 1980s, I was a double major in business and computer science. Went on and got my MBA at the University of Chicago, and had fallen in through some internships, fallen in love with consulting. So I started my career with Price Waterhouse in their management consulting practice in 1987.
Price Waterhouse, as in PwC?
Well, prior to the C. We were just Price Waterhouse.
Prior to the C.
Yeah, prior to the C. We actually, while I was there, Arthur Andersen and Price Waterhouse nearly merged. So those were in the very, very early days. There were 8. We actually used to joke there were the big 8. So the 8 accounting/consulting firms. I ended up interviewing. I think it was because of my background. I had that computer science and business background. I interviewed at 7 of the 8 big 8 firms. All 7 of them offered me jobs. I ended up, it was a tough decision, but I ended up starting with Price Waterhouse. And it was really at Price Waterhouse that I got involved in enterprise resource planning, ERP work. 90, 91 timeframe, really early days. We formed a group that was doing a lot of, we called it mid-market, but was working with the Oracle Enterprise Resource Planning system, the Oracle ERP system, and I started doing some of that work in the early 90s. Left Price Waterhouse. Loved the work I did there, but I was on the road 100% of the time. And eventually, wanting to have a family, wanting to get married, I decided to get off the road. So I was working with a company that was in the process of implementing the Oracle ERP system. And I went as an independent consultant for about a year assisting them. And then I met, during that project, I met two other, one who worked for Oracle at the time and one who worked for Westinghouse. And we formed a company, Paragon Solutions, in 1994 that was focused on selling and implementing the Oracle ERP system in Western Pennsylvania. So we grew that firm to about 30 people. And Oracle at that point realized that they weren't competing effectively in the middle market. So they formed their Oracle, what they call their Oracle Dealer Network. And we got one of the licenses for their Oracle Dealer Network to sell.
Essentially like a bar network or a partner network, which a lot of the ERPs out there use, right?
Exactly. Very early days of that. And it was really to compete with SAP, to compete with Microsoft and some of the other ERPs. So we had Western PA, upstate New York, and Southern Ohio as our region that we sold Oracle in and consulted in. We grew those firms to around 40 people between the two of them, and got a little bit worried at the time about we were approaching Y2K, and what was Y2K going to do to the ERP space? And so we, in hindsight, it was not a great decision. We got good money for it, but we could have continued to grow the firm in 1998, beginning of 1999.
How did Y2K affect the ERP space? I mean, just out of curiosity.
So, I mean, I think it gave a little spike in the 97, 98, 99 timeframes, but by 2001, ERP was continuing to grow again. I mean, it probably pulled forward some of the demand just because there were some firms that, instead of trying to fix their systems, swap them out and bought a new ERP system. But obviously, the market has continued to grow very rapidly. The firm that bought us, our firm was Cyber, which was a large publicly traded, but they were mostly a IT staffing firm based out of Colorado. And they were trying to build out a platform of packaged software companies, to try to, so they would, in addition to having staffing, they would have more of a consulting presence. Ended up, after a couple of years, deciding that was not the direction they wanted to go. So I left Cyber at the time. I left Cyber and actually with a new partner reformed our old firm. We came up with a new name called Corporate Solutions. So we formed Corporate Solutions, very similar thing: Oracle, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft Consulting, mostly Western PA, though we had some customers around the US. Grew that firm, similar size. We were probably in the low 30 employees, low 30 consultants. And in 2004, I'd kind of been burning out on the industry at that point. So in 2004, I sold my equity part of the business out. And really what I did is I sold myself.
That's why you're a millionaire.
Yeah. I sold myself out of a job is what ended up happening. And so by July of 2004, I was going to be done. And my wife, I give a lot of the credit to my wife. My wife said, "Bob, I don't want you staying home full time." And we needed health benefits. So I love to talk. I love a captive audience. So she suggested, why don't I look into teaching? And since I do have a master's, I don't have a PhD. I'm not Dr. Markley. I decided to reach out to some of the schools in my area of Western PA, and St. Vincent College, which is a fairly small liberal arts school, but has a really good business school, really good reputation in their business school. Needed someone to teach management and accounting information systems, required courses as part of the accreditation. So since 2004, since the fall of 2004, I've been teaching here at St. Vincent College, so almost 20 years.
And they're like in the Pittsburgh area?
Yes, we're just outside of Pittsburgh, about 40 miles east of Pittsburgh. So about an hour outside of the city in Westmoreland County.
So stupid question, Eagles or Steelers?
Steelers. The Steelers, they're great.
I'm on the other end of that. I'm in Philly.
So the Steelers practice in the summer, in July and August, they practice on our campus.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's crazy. So we're a school of under 2,000 students. There will be Saturdays and Sundays in July and August when there will be 10,000 people on our campus coming out to watch a Steelers practice.
That's how it used to be when the Eagles practiced, I think up in Allentown at like Lehigh Valley, some school up there. Or Easton or wherever it was. Same thing as far as that goes. So one of the first questions I have for you, that's a great, amazing background, by the way. One of the first questions I have for you, which I think is pretty important, is how do you define ERP? Because I get asked this all the time. People ask, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I'm the VP of sales. And they're like, okay. VP of sales of what? And then I'm like, oh God, I got to go down this rabbit hole. And I'm like, ERP. And they're like, okay, what's ERP? And I'm like, enterprise resource planning. And then they're like, okay, what's that? I'm like, business management software for the back end. And then I usually, if I'm at a restaurant, I explain, like, imagine they have 15 different restaurants and they have the POSs and I give them an illustrated example like that. But is there a simpler way to explain that? And how would you explain it?
Very similar, David. I talk about how it's a business management system. It really manages the back end of the operations, the accounting, the finance, the human resources, the procurement. And then in more complex businesses, it manages inventory. It helps planning, helps with the planning of the manufacturing operations. It is funny because we use the tool because we teach SAP here now on campus, and we use that tool in recruiting. And it doesn't really help with students. What it helps with recruiting is the students' parents, because they're all working, or many of them are working, and they're working for companies that use SAP, and they know how well paid those SAP employees and consultants are, and how complex the software is, and critical to business operations. So it's been a good tool.
I would say SAP Business One is complex, but it's complex to a degree. It depends how complex you want to make the software. Because I've had billion-dollar companies buy the software, and you're like, they're a $3 billion company. Why do they want Business One? But it's like, oh, well, we have all these external systems, and we just need 4 different integrations, and we need 10 financial users to process this. And it's been, there's been unicorn cases like that, but I don't think it is as complex as a lot of other systems, because you have a lot of small businesses that can be 10-user companies that are running in the cloud. And if they get the proper training from right partner, like our sponsor today, StellarOneConsulting.com, then with them, you're able to pretty much be self-sufficient to where you're not being nickeled and dined by the partner network like we talked about before, or as we call in the SAP world, VAR, which is value-added reseller.
Yeah, I agree. When we looked at, so I had worked with Oracle my entire career, and then in 2006, I wanted to bring an ERP system into the classroom here. So we initially approached Oracle. Oracle said we had enough universities in our University Alliance program. So in 2007, 2008, we joined the SAP University Alliance. And what I loved was they had S4HANA. They had a different name for it at the time. And they had this brand new product that they were launching into University Alliances called Business One. And I immediately took a look at it. It was so simple to use. And what I like is I give my students about 15 minutes in MIS. So all business students here on campus get take management information systems during their sophomore year and MIS. And they have to, as part of that, I spend about 2.5, 3 weeks where they're actually doing transactions in Business One. And, if you were working with S4HANA, you would probably spend the entire semester just teaching them how to navigate in it. With Business One, I spend 15 minutes.
Business One is so easy. It's so intuitive. I love the golden arrows. I love their new web client, all that stuff. I mean, they've made so many improvements in this, and it's crazy because the software has been around for about 20 or so years.
Over 20 years.
Yeah. And, SAP keeps investing into it. I mean, it is a very, very good, solid solution as far as that goes. So with you going out there and teaching students where they're learning SAP Business One and doing transactions and stuff like that, what kind of feedback do you get from the students? People who, I mean, again, they haven't been working in ERP, they're young. For the most part, I'm sure you get some older students every now and then too. But I mean, you're working with younger people that maybe never touched ERP in their life, and they're doing these types of transactions. What kind of feedback do you get from those students?
Great question, David, because the struggle is not teaching the software, it's teaching the business processes. They're all so comfortable working with technology, navigating, clicking on buttons, figuring things out. But what they don't understand and what is hard to teach is the business processes. You know what a purchase order is, what a sales order is, what a production order means. For them, those are just words, and until they get some contact,
they actually get in there,
so they get to see it. So one of the things we do as part of the SAP Business One program, so we do take, I generally take between a dozen and 20 students every year during their junior year, and we train them. We spend an entire semester training them on SAP Business One, and I start that. Before the training even starts, we go out and visit 1 or 2 businesses.
Quick question, because you're talking about SAP Business One. Do you teach them just core SAP Business One, or do you use, like, for example, I don't know any partner out there that unless for some crazy reason that it maybe just financials or whatever, doesn't sell SAP Business One with Boyum's Business One usability package or something similar to that, where it gives you those tools and dashboards, stuff like that. You teach them on both, or is it strictly Business One?
So it's up until 5 years ago, it was vanilla Business One. We do have a partnership with Boyum. Boyum provides us, because again, we're a university, we have no money, so they do provide us with B1 Up. We have B1 Up, and they spend a module. Rosie Coronado.
And print and delivery, I assume?
No, we just do B1 Up.
Print and delivery. So are you doing HANA or SQL?
SQL, because we self-host.
Okay. So if you're doing SQL, that makes sense. If you're doing HANA, my suggestion would be get the print and delivery in there, because you know how in the SQL version you have like the B1 mailer, which my understanding is doesn't work as good in the HANA version, and that's where you need print and delivery to kind of fill those gaps.
It's really just having the time, David. It's already.
Hold on, before we go further, you were about to give a shout out to one of my most favorite people in the world, weren't you? Rosie Coronado.
No, Rosie Coronado.
Yes.
Rosie does a great job.
Rosie is incredible.
Rosie is incredible. She spends an hour every semester with our students over Zoom, sort of walking them through how to use B1 Up. And then they have so the training is actually quite extensive. There's 16 modules. The last module is sort of the certification exam, but 15 modules worth of learning about ERP and then learning a lot about Business One and transactions and implementation. The last module, the 15th module of that, is they learn about B1 Up, and they have an exercise. Almost all of these modules, they have an exam and an exercise that they have to complete before they're able to move on to the next module.
What about teaching them to think outside the box? Because, and I don't want to be disrespectful to any professional consultants out there, but many of them are very square. So for example, we'll be in a sales cycle, and the company will say, a business owner will be like, I need fixed assets, but he needs very, very basic fixed assets. And then a consultant looks at it and they're like, oh, they need the whole thing. And it's like, all of a sudden they're like, we need a change order for an extra 150 hours. I'm just throwing out a hypothetical number. Okay. I'm exaggerating with that, but we'll need a change order for that many hours. But in reality, it could be done cheaper if you think outside of the box using the tools that are already within B1 plus the B1 Up, which is as we explained, the Business One usability package from Boyum. Do you teach them how to think out of the box like that and come up with creative solutions that are more cost effective for the client?
That's a great question, because we do. So one of we've written 2 case studies, implementation case studies, that are very, very abbreviated implementations, where we're trying to get the students to think creatively, because there's lots of different ways. There's some tricks within the implementations that, some of them see, some of them don't tend to see, but they go through, so they and this is what's happening actually here in a few weeks. They go through a mock implementation of a test system, all of them make a bunch of mistakes. We run transactions through it. They realize their mistakes.
UAT?
Yeah, user acceptance testing. It's an abbreviated version.
Okay, so UAT, for those, UAT that people don't know, that basically is like a user acceptance testing, where you're going in and you're testing the transactions and you're waiting to see if you get the desired results or if you have bugs. And if you have bugs, that's where you go back and fix it. But that's something that you typically do before you go live.
And they all go through that. I even now have marketing students in the program, because a number of the Business One value-added resellers around the country have hired these marketing students. And a really funny story there. One of the partners had one of our interns, marketing intern, and they were trying to prepare a brochure or some sort of an ad. And they needed to navigate to a couple of screens in Business One, and none of the full-time marketing people knew how to log into Business One. This intern went in and boom, 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 grabbed them screenshots, and they were just blown away by the fact that this was a marketing student who was going to head down more the marketing path, knew how to get in, navigate, do transactions in the software.
So obviously, I did not go to St. Vincent College. I went to Penn State. Forgive me. But
I'm a Penn State grad, David.
There you go. We got that in common. But I went for information sciences and technology instead of a traditional business degree. Why? Not because I wanted to be a developer, programmer. I mean, I understand code. I can program. I can code. I still play with Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. I do it, just for fun whenever I'm bored. But one of the things that I decided early on was, if I'm going out looking for a good tech job, I'd rather have a tech degree, so that way I can explain the tech to an unsophisticated or even a sophisticated customer in detail, the level that they need to be. Whereas if I went for a business management degree to be able to do sales, I kind of viewed that as valueless. And that's where I think I made the right choice. What's your opinion on the decision I made?
No, and again, that was what sort of differentiated me before there was an IST degree, before there was an MIS degree. I think that the fact that I had both a business degree, so I understood what a debit and a credit and marketing, finance, but I also had a computer science degree. So I had learned, as part of my undergrad, I learned 9 different programming languages, and never did much of any programming. Actually, SQL was really about the only programming that I ever did in my career. But I think the fact that I had that foundation, I always said that made me much more, and that is the exact pitch, David, I use to the students here. Is most of these are business students, but this is your entry point into the technology field. You'll have a technology skill set, as well as your understanding of, most companies are investing in tech to solve a business problem. You'll have that better understanding of business, but you'll also have that technology background by completing the SAP Business One program. I think one of the and I want to make certain I get this out here, because this was, really what's been transformational for me in my almost 20 years there at St. Vincent College, was we started this SAP program, I guess this is its 16th year, and I've had a number of students reach out to me over the years. So we've trained almost 200 students on SAP Business One. 127 students have attended some of the SAP conferences. We've had about 140 internships. And right now we've got about 85 alumni working somewhere in the SAP ecosystem. But a number of them have reached out to me and said, this was life-changing, having the opportunity to go through this. I'm doing financially much better than I would. I've been able to pick where I live. I've been able to, maybe work more flexibly, work part-time, whatever.
Mobile, all that stuff. Yeah, it's been incredible. And that was actually going to be my next question to you, like the student success rate as far as your program and how that goes, which you've started to explain there, but please feel free to go into more detail.
Yeah, well, so we started this the initial couple of years, we had to be very careful. So, we started training students in 2008. Those first couple of years, we went very slow with just very small cohorts of students, because we weren't sure what the demand was going to be. And, we were still sort of developing the training.
B1 still kind of was newer at that point.
Yeah, it was. Business One was catching on pretty fast, but, and actually it was initially Manfred Weiss, if you know Manfred, was the channel manager for SAP at the time. It was really his idea when we started teaching it in the curriculum. He said, we have partners that just can't find any young talent. Would you be willing, to partner with SAP? They actually sent the initial trainers out to help me, because I didn't know the product that well, to help me train the students. After a couple of years, I was able to transition into that role and finish the training. But I've exposed over 2,000 students to SAP now through Management Information Systems. And as I said, I've trained almost 200, and almost 100 of them now are working somewhere in the SAP. And that could be for SAP itself, for SAP value-added resellers, and a lot of them have now gone on and are working for SAP customers.
Right. So I have one final off-the-cuff funny question for you before we get your details. And that is, how awesome is Stellar One, and how have they supported your students?
Absolutely great question. Stellar One, I believe, now has the most alumni of any of the SAP Business One partners working for them. They have some of the earliest graduates of our program, and they just actually earlier this week hired one of the students that'll be graduating from the program here come May of 2024. So,
including Derek, right?
Derek is a graduate. Sarah is a graduate. Cammie is a graduate of the program. RJ Kenna is a student, as an alum that they're about.
So anybody that reaches out to us, as far as you're looking at the SAP Business One solution and you want a demo from us, you're going to meet Derek Kyle, who is our pre-sale solution architect, who comes in, he'll do your discovery, and then he will give you a demo, and the dude is incredible. So Derek, see, I'm giving you a shout out live on the podcast because I know you listen to every single episode. But he learned a lot from the professor here and actually connected both of us. So I'm grateful for that.
And David, I've learned a lot from Derek. So Derek, he's not able to do it this year, but we run this workshop typically in mid-December. Derek, I believe, has been back for 7 or 8 of those workshops. He's helped me. He was my work study, and he's come back and helped because it's a big undertaking. There's as many as 15 students in there. They're all trying to work in the software. So I typically have some work studies and some alumni of the program come back and help me. And Camlyn Davis, who's a alumni of the program and works for Stellar One, is since Derek wasn't able to this year. She's coming on campus and helping me with that through over those 3 days.
And everybody named at Stellar One, I know, and I will tell you personally, I will vouch for them. They are incredible, amazing people. Love them all. We need to call out one other. Oh, I almost forgot. Ben Grossi. So Ben is, I believe, doing the no coding work for Stellar One. It has also come on campus to help me out, and it is an alumni of the program also. That's great to hear. Great to hear. Thank you for calling out all those Stellar One people. I'm sure Stellar One is going to be thrilled with that. So with all that, hey, thank you so much for coming on. You shared your knowledge. You shared the program that you have at St. Vincent College. So anybody looking to get into ERP or anybody that needs ERP, please reach out to me. Reach out to Robert, Professor Markley, reach out to either one of us, and we'll definitely get you hooked up in the right place. But please, Professor, tell us, how can people contact you, the university? Like, where do you want them to reach out in case they have questions?
So I'm really active on LinkedIn. So Robert Markley on LinkedIn, Markley, is probably the best way to connect with me. We teach, we work with LinkedIn. We educate our students on how to use LinkedIn because, again, in the SAP Business One space, that seems to be a really good tool for networking, for identifying job opportunities. And I think from an educational standpoint, there's a lot of good information and education available on LinkedIn. So that would probably be the best way. We have a lot of posts out there to learn about our program, as well as if you're interested or wanting to connect with me.
Okay, and we'll have a direct link down to St. Vincent College right below the post. Is that good?
That's perfect also, yes, stvincent.edu.
Yep, we'll have stvincent.edu right down below the description on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you watch or listen to the show, you'll be able to find it. You all know this by now. Hey, Professor Markley, thank you so much for your time. Very grateful that you came on. And you, my friend, you are a true rock star.
Thank you, David. And I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, sir. Cheers. Wow, that was an incredible chat with Professor Markley, wasn't it? Love the dude. He is incredible. He is so intelligent. Really, it was incredible. Thank you again, Professor Markley. First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it gave you those warm and fuzzies, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, because you know Shark Bite Biz is the greatest kept secret in the world of small business. And if you really want to help us out, share us out to your friends, your colleagues, your family, wherever you dwell in the interwebs. I don't care. I'm platform agnostic. Just share us out. I'd love to see nothing more than St. Vincent's College, SAP Business One, and Professor Markley out there trending with Shark Bite Biz. Now, let's get back to the real rock star of the show, Professor Markley. Hey, awesome stuff, Professor Markley, and thank you for coming on, sharing your expertise, and really thank you for helping this younger generation join great companies like Stellar One Consulting, my company, where I work as the VP of sales, and getting into an old school technology like ERP, especially with SAP Business One. That is incredible. Thank you so much. You rock. You are the true rock star of everything, sir. And thank you again for coming on. A question of the day. What's your take on ERP? Leave a comment down below in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify. Do you want to be on the show? We're scheduling in season 8, which starts in January. Interviews at sharkbitebiz.com. Please don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, you can join $3 a month. Every dollar in is every dollar we put out on production, on advertisements, all that stuff. So every penny counts in making this show successful. And also, once again, a shout out to our sponsor, Stellar One Consulting. You heard about them a million times during this show today. But StellarOneConsulting.com, StellarOne.io, whether you're looking at SAP Business One, whether you're looking at Acumatica, just getting off the antiquated system or non-functional system like NetSuite that you're running on now, just hit us up and we'll help you break through the barriers preventing your growth. You all know this by now, but I'll say it once again. I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Cheers.
You've just experienced Shark Bite Biz with Dave Strausser. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show to help us spread the word about personal, professional, and business growth. Want to be on the show? Send an email to interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. Special shout out to our sponsor, an SAP and Acumatica Gold Partner, Stellar One. Get off QuickBooks. Automate businesses' processes and have your business reach the stars. StellarOneConsulting.com or reach out to the show. Till next episode.